Oh, this feels like the final football match between two soccer warriors. Oh my God, can somebody please tell me what the African formation is? Oh, it's 4-4-2, amazing. Cool stuff. That's just super amazing, isn't it? Africa Business Radio is doing 4-4-2 on the news with 40% Nigerian stories, 40% African stories, and 20% global stories. Now that's what I call a homegrown, heart-breaking goal! Go, 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 go! Yes. Go! Audio Jungle.
Lewis Hamilton wins Spanish Grand Prix. Miocic outpoints Daniel Cormier in UFC 252. Reaction to plans to introduce 20 million naira capital base for betting companies in Lagos. These are some of the stories ahead of this edition of your number one sports podcast, which begins in a moment. You're listening to Sports the Money. Hello, I am Bimbola Oyele. Let's begin with snooker. Now, do you remember in the 90s when 8-ball pool was a thing all over the city of Lagos? Whatever happened to the disappearance of the 90s pool craze? Could it come back? Well, in snooker, Ronnie O'Sullivan on Sunday claimed his 6th World Championship title with a dominant 18-8 victory over Kyron Wilson at Sheffield's Crucible Theatre. It was the biggest winning margin in the final since 2008 when O'Sullivan defeated Ali Carter by the same scoreline. O'Sullivan draws level with Ray Reardon and boyhood hero Steve Davis on world grounds and surpasses Stephen Hendry on the all-time list of ranking event wins with a record of 37 titles. The Englishman collects £500,000 in prize money, moving back up to second in the world behind last year's champion, Judd Trump. In Formula One, Lewis Hamilton dominated the Spanish Grand Prix to take his 4th victory in 6 races so far this year. The Mercedes driver led every lap from pole position and was simply too fast for Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who was unable to challenge. It was the 88th victory of Hamilton's career, and he is now just 3 from Michael Schumacher's all-time record of wins. It was also Hamilton's 156th podium finish, a new record beating the previous mark also held by Schumacher. Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas took 3rd, failing to catch Verstappen despite Mercedes' efforts on strategy. Hamilton's win extended his World Championship lead to 37 points over Verstappen, who is 6 ahead of Bottas. Now, still on racing, Avintia Ducati's Andrea Dovizioso won when the Australian MotoGP riders Franco Morbidelli and Johan Zarco collided, leading to a 20-minute pause. Valentino Rossi also narrowly avoided a collision as their bikes careened across the track. The victory was Dovizioso's 3rd at the track and meant Ducati have won every race since the circuit was added to the calendar in 2016. Now, Stipe Miocic cemented his legacy as the greatest heavyweight champion in UFC history with a unanimous decision win over Daniel Cormier at UFC 252. In their first meeting at UFC 226 in July 2018, then light heavyweight champion Cormier stunned Miocic in the first round in Las Vegas to become a 2-division champion. But Miocic produced a brilliant come-from-behind performance in Anaheim last August to turn the tables and stop Cormier in the rematch at UFC 241. In their 3rd meeting behind closed doors at the UFC Apex facility in Las Vegas, 37-year-old Miocic came out on top with scores of 49-46, 49-46, and 48-47 from the 3 judges. 41-year-old Cormier confirmed his retirement after the rematch. Now, it's the third time Manchester United will lose out in the semi-finals of a competition this season. This time, the Red Devils dropped out of the Europa League after a 2-1 defeat at the hands of Sevilla in Cologne. United took the lead when Bruno Fernandes scored their 22nd penalty of the season after Marcus Rashford was fouled by Diego Carlos. But Sevilla equalized before the interval when former Liverpool forward Suso swept a finish past David De Gea at the far post. Sevilla, who also eliminated Wolves in the quarterfinals, secured their place in the final when Luke de Jong scored from a cross delivered by Jesus Navas with 12 minutes left to play. Now, reports say the Nigerian Football Federation is poised to appoint a new technical director for the federation this week, with the announcement of the head coach for the Super Falcons coming thereafter. There are speculations that the federation will pick Bitrus Bewerang, the technical director's successor, from the shortlisted candidates selected by its Technical and Development Committee and its Integrity Office. Bewerang's contract with the NFF expired last month and was not renewed by the federation. He held the position for 9 years and was assisted by ex-international Shiji Lagunju and Rafiu Yusuf. The Falcons have been without a coach for 10 months since Thomas Dennerby resigned as coach of the women's national team last year, despite having a year left on his contract. Since the departure of the 60-year-old Swede, NFF president Amaju Pinnick has insisted on appointing a world-class coach for the women's team. So, Lagos State, Nigeria has unveiled plans to introduce a 20 million naira capital base for lottery, pools and betting operators. Now, what does this mean for the betting industry in the economic capital of the largest economy on the continent? Kelechi Nkoro of the Busybody sports team joins us. Now, Kelechi, what do you make of this?
First off, I'm going to say I've been one who has been following the sport betting industry and even the Lagos Lottery Board closely since 2012, where I got something that had to do with them. And one thing I have always known is that industry started a campaign that is hurting them now. If you notice, going back to 2012, 2013, there was always, I call it propaganda of, we saw different people coming up to say they had won 40 million from this sport betting house, this other person saying they had won 60-something million. We saw different sport betting companies coming out to found that they had money to pay out. And Bimbo, nowhere in the world, if an industry is letting the government know that there is money in this industry to be made, the government is going to look for a way, the regulatory board is going to look for a way to milk that industry out. And that is what the sport betting industry is suffering now. Now, interestingly, Bimbo, I'm saying this because I have information there. Now, do you know that even after you pay the National Lottery Board to do operations in Nigeria, you still have to pay individual states some monies to still run business in their states, which is double taxation if you look at it, actually. Because I am paying the federal government to do business in Nigeria. Why do I still now have to pay Lagos State or Ogun State or different states to run business? Now, what Lagos State is now saying is that aside that your license that you bought, you now have a yearly money that you'll be giving us, which for these people it is too much. And unfortunately, it's only Lagos State who is doing it. Now, we saw what Lagos State did with the e-taxi people, that they had to come back on the round table. Everyone is hoping that it might, because what you might see going forward is that a lot of sport betting companies will reduce their operations in Lagos State. And they don't care. They will tell you, we don't make much money in Lagos State as we make from other states. What Lagos State gives us is visibility and not what we call noise in advertising. Where, you know, like they say in the music industry, if you don't blow for Lagos, you don't blow for Nigeria. So it's what they would see. You would see a lot of them drop their operations in Lagos. Let's not forget about the other the betting company who went to sponsor the Big Brother Nigeria that we're hearing that went into 1.something billion. If you're Lagos State, a broke state like Lagos is, forget about the propaganda they are saying. That is money you are seeing in your face, and you're asking yourself, have we done enough to get money off this industry? And that's what we're seeing. So, what will it cost for next season? We might actually see a lot of them drop their operations in Lagos State and go beef it up in other states that are not trying to milk them off the way Lagos State is.
Now let's talk about what's happened in the Champions League with Barcelona. 8-2 loss to Bayern Munich. Some have said the Barcelona squad is aging with most of the established players in their early 30s. Could this be the reason they were thus humiliated and they were without a major trophy last season?
Well, when we look at what has been around Barcelona in the last few years, I think the result against Bayern is a summary of what has been going on. I think some weeks back we talked about the fact that Barcelona were letting go young players and bringing in older players in their transfer policies. It's been even far back, I can tell you as far back as when they started the project of Neymar being the next man to take over from Lionel Messi, and then they allowed Neymar go, went on to get an almost aging Griezmann. You look at how Barcelona has built their squad after their post Pep Guardiola, post Enrique, even some other people who had come in, Valverde. You'd say to yourself that it was glaring that Barcelona was going to somehow hit the rock, and the rock did they hit against Bayern Munich. So it has a lot of things coming together to come to that result, because you can't take away the fact that the Barcelona side still had quality in it. But the question is, what have you done to build on Messi's age? What have you done to build on Piqué's experience? What have you done? Who is the replacement for an aging Jordi Alba if he gets injured? Who is Barcelona's right back? Because we've always seen them, is either Semedo there or we see Sergio Roberto. So it's always been a question of what was Barcelona doing with this squad. And I think that's what played out that day. Then they went on to get, I'm sorry to say, but the IT coach in the man brought in to replace Valverde. Everything just played out yesterday. They finally hit the rock. They've been dilly-dallying, going around, pushing, trying to stay alive. We saw them in the Champions League, the Roma disaster. We saw the other one, Liverpool disaster last season. But they needed something to wake them, and they got that slap against Bayern Munich.
And lastly, I want to get your insight on the final standings of the NPFL season. What's your take on the way it all played out using points per game and weighted points per game to determine the winners and who represent Nigeria at the Continental League games?
Yeah. Rivers United are saying that they're going to do everything to make sure that they go to the UEFA Champions League. Bimbo, so this is what I would say. The CAF Champions League, sorry. I'll say this. When the NPFL or the LMC, the regulatory body organizing the NPFL, came up with their rules, they came up with different things that they were going to do. You see, I don't like when there are rules and we start asking if it's fair or it's not fair. They made it clear that once we have a tie, the first place we will go to after we have done our game pack this thing is straight up to goal difference. Let's follow what the rule book says. No one is interested in whether Enyimba played lesser game or not. Let's go different. Rivers United should be going to the CAF Champions. Wherever they came up with this whole stuff, My brother, I have no idea. And now they are complicating things for themselves, which right now is putting the whole league, because Rivers United are threatening to take them to CAF. To what's his name? To the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAF. Now, the big question is, okay, if Rivers United succeed in taking them there and win the case, and then you have already submitted the Imbas name as the team that, so it's a messy thing, and I think we use our own hands to complicate things for ourselves. This thing was so straightforward, it was so easy to go by, but I have no idea how they came up with this, and I think personally that compromises like this is what makes our football not go forward. Personally, I think so, because it took them weeks, Bimbo, weeks. We had spoken about this twice on this show. Weeks for them to come up with this decision, which is shambolic.
And with that, we've come to the end of another edition of Sports The Money. The conversation continues on Twitter at AfricaBizRadio, hashtag Sport The Money. You can also hit me on Twitter and IG personally, all handles at Bimbola Awele. Until our next episode, have a sportastic week ahead.